Hello, bowling fans. This is Dustin J. Markowitz coming to you taped, as always, from the gym along the Colorado River, Laughlin, Nevada, bringing you another edition of your favorite bowling talk show, Bowling Evolved.
Join Dustin, it's the wrestling show.
I'm sorry. You know, John, I get so confused. We've done so many of these things. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dustin Markowitz coming to you live from the gym along the Colorado River, Laughlin, Nevada, along with my partner, the one and only John North, bringing you Wrestling Evolved, talking about your favorite pay-per-views and wrestlers of the past.
Dustin, no. It's the EWE show. The EWE show.
Oh. I think I'm getting old, man. I'm starting to get senile. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the one show, the only podcast dedicated to all the action and extreme wrestling entertainment, the one, the only, Behind Enemy Lines. I'm your host, Dustin J. Marcus, joined as always by the Kentucky Hot Plate himself, the one and only John North. John, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, Dustin. It's great to hear your voice back on Behind Enemy Lines. I'm actually coming to you live from Kingsport, Tennessee tonight. I'm on the road,
really?
So I'm doing this show on the road.
Oh, you're rocking and rolling, bopping, and it's not bowling. I got that confused already. Never mind.
You already cashed in your bowling references on this show.
Okay, I've cashed that in already, but no, it feels good to be back. You know, you and I have been gone from EWE for over a year now, and although sometimes there's some differences there, everything has worked itself out. Everyone's back on a great level, and I feel fantastic. It feels fantastic to be doing the show once again.
Yeah, I know Jay and I had talked about, if there was a possibility of EWE Behind Enemy Lines coming back, and I told him, we could get the game back together and run a show because Jay knows that I'm not going to come back to EWE because I don't want to tarnish what legacy I thought I left with Leon. So I'm just watching from afar now. I keep up with everything. I'm still on the boards about every other day reading role plays. So even though I'm on to other things and role playing in other feds, I still keep up with EWE as often as I can.
And that's awesome. I'm kind of in the same boat. I still try to watch as much as I can, although I feel like my best days are definitely behind me now. I had a phenomenal final run with Dutch Clark, and obviously our little feud there at the end with Leon and Dutch was, in my opinion, some of the most entertaining role plays I've ever had a chance to be a part of. And I'm very proud to say that, whatever legacy the MMSW has had in EWE, out of character, of course, not necessarily in character, because Leon was not part of that group, but it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to be remembered that way. And to Jay and, of course, everyone else associated with EWE, I would definitely want to say thank you guys for making the last, 2005, so the last 10 years memorable for me.
Yeah, I spent, a long time there. I wasn't really role-playing in any other feds besides EWE. Now, I branched out in the last couple of years just to try to test myself because, EWE has the word limit, which I love, the 3,000 words. It's nice for me to, only have to put up that much, but I wanted to test my writing ability some, so, I've ventured out, but EWE is always going to be kind of my home fed and always one that I enjoy going back to.
Yes, absolutely, and it's almost funny to think that you and I are sort of E-Fed historians at this point. That's kind of a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've always thought about, in college, I don't know why I didn't do a story, not a story, but I don't know why I never wrote a paper about E-Fedding, because I think there's so much untapped potential there that you can write about, and it would be enjoyable, but I never got to. Maybe one day I'll put together something. There's enough of it, with the Twitter, everybody has a character Twitter now, so it's kind of a bunch of E-Fedders in one place, where it kind of used to be like Yahoo Chat and AOL Chat and things like that. Everybody has a character Twitter now, so you have access to a lot of E-Fedders at one time, and that's something that, you didn't have in the past, so it's a new era, to say the least.
Absolutely, and it's very strange for me at times to think about that. I remember when I first started, it was email feds and board posting feds, and you're right, Yahoo Chat, AOL. I remember when we all started downloading AOL Instant Messenger, that was like a godsend to be able to talk with someone in real time.
Yeah, and MSN too, yeah.
So, but no, absolutely, it's come a long way, and I'm happy to say that I've been a part of that transition. But enough of our reminiscing. Let's get into it. John, it is that time of year. The one and only WrestleMania has come again, and I am proud to say that this show of Behind Enemy Lines is dedicated to EWE's new WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I cannot wait. The main event of WrestleMania this year, Jack Michaels versus Derek Daniels. I can't believe that's where we are now.
John, no, that was WrestleMania like 4 years ago.
I'm having flashbacks. I'm sorry. All this talk about the past has, I'm having flashbacks.
Yeah, that's, wait. So we're on WrestleMania 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yes,
oh
11.
My God. WrestleMania 11 has arrived, and although I will say, John, that was one heck of a main event. How that is not the greatest match in EWE history, I don't know. But for all of you listening at home, look that one up. That was a very special match. But let's go on to the modern card. John, I feel so enlightened and just giddy with what's going on. I think we should reverse the roles a little bit. I'm going to let you take the lead on the WrestleMania card this year. For the first time behind Enemy Lines history, I'm going to play the color. You're going to be the play-by-play.
Well, I hope to God people don't turn off the whatever they're listening on right now when I start to take over here. But regardless, the format we're going to do is kind of what we've always done, and that we're going to start at the top of the card, or at least what is considered the top of the card, judging by predictions on the OOC board. And then we'll kind of talk about the role players involved, and then we'll give our predictions. So does that sound good to you?
Well, yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. We were talking about this earlier. The over-under on matches that Jay's involved with was 5. I took the over. So
yeah, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take the over, too. I haven't counted officially, but I'm going to take the over, too. But we're going to find out here very quickly.
I will say this. I wish I did have my Bellini Vault editor working on this, because I would tell AJ to put a little counter in the corner of the podcast bubble for every match that Jay's involved with this year.
And a little ding on the side, too.
Yeah. AJ, take care of that.
Well, the first match on the card is the EWE Shining Star Championship, and it'll be between Stealth Elf and Kalista Leon. Stealth Elf obviously ran by JC. Kalista Leon ran by John, a.k.a. John Steele, and a host of other people in the AWE. So I know later on in the card, the Shining Star Championship will be combined with the Divas Championship. That's my understanding. They'll have a unification match in that one.
Which I do believe is a very smart move. Obviously, EWE is not quite the size it used to be. And I do believe that there is definitely a problem when there's too many titles, not enough contenders. You want to make the titles at least somewhat prestigious, not just be there for the sake of being there.
Agree with you. Yeah, it's sometimes feds do have too many titles, and it seems like everyone has a title. But I think for the time being, it would be nice to retire this one and combine it into one. But I've been reading a lot to do homework with John, with Kalista Leon. He has been doing this a long time. I haven't seen a lot of change in his work since the last time that we've been in AWE, which isn't a bad thing because I still think he's pretty solid at this stage with that character. But talk about JC. He has improved leaps and bounds. I know you haven't got to look at it as much as I have, but he actually, when I look at his role plays now, if this makes sense, I'm looking and thinking this is an RPer, where before I thought it was. I thought JC was a joke. I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, and as we've discussed about JC before, I've always felt JC was a talented writer, but not necessarily a talented role player. And there's a very fine line there. I know a lot of really good writers in the wrestling EFED world that unfortunately could, put a background together, could tell interesting stories, but they weren't necessarily pertaining to what EFEDing, which in my opinions tend to be the same, what it's all about. And I would agree. He's come leaps and bounds. Absolutely.
Yeah, most improved from what I've looked at up and down the card. But predictions on this match, I'll let you go first, and we'll switch roles kind of up and down through. But I'll let you go first on this one.
Okay, well, I have a lot of respect for both John and JC. Again, I do think JC has come more into his own, especially with that character. On the other hand, though, John, John's a funny writer. I've always felt like John is somewhat of a throwback to yesteryear, other than the fact that I wish he would censor some more of his stuff, and that's not just this character, that's just all characters, but I still think he has a little something that JC doesn't have yet, which is the ability to kind of direct his trash talk, which is not saying that it's always necessarily good, because you and I both know he has been known to write some, how should I put this delicately, essays on trash talk that go on and on. In fact, I think I'm still reading some of the stuff from John Steele's Psychotica from last year. But with that being said, come WrestleMania, John knows how to turn it up when it's necessary, and as much as JC has come along, I think John's going to pull this one out. I have to give it to Kalisto.
I'll go against you. I think this is a rematch, too. I think they had a match at the EW's Royal Rumble at the beginning of the year. But regardless, I'm going to go with JC in this one just to show, I think he's come a long way, and he is the defending champion in this one, or at least his character, Stealth Elf, is. I believe that's one of his best characters that he writes with, despite it being an elf, which I still can't get over that fact. But I'm going with JC in this one.
I will say this, though, John, and we've discussed this on the show before. It is easier to win a title than it is to defend a title. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely it is. That is 100% true. I went for a long time having that monkey on my back with not being able to defend a title, and it sucks.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people will probably laugh when I say this, but I always thought that one of my proudest moments as an E-Feder was, winning titles are great, but I know I had, I think, like 3 or 4 defenses with Dutch Clark when I was the Undisputed Champion, which to me, that it felt great to do that, because again, it means you're still constantly coming up with ideas. You can get a character like, let's say, a White Tiger, who knows at some point down the line he's going to get a title shot. It's just one of those things. With a Fed like EWE, it might be next month, 2 months, 3 months, but he has all that time to build up for that one match. You, on the other hand, have to come off of, as you well know, you have to come off of title defense after role play after role play, and it's tough. It's a tough scenario, and I give credit to anyone that has been able to defend a title. I don't care if it's a mid-card title, a low-card title, or the undisputed title. It takes a lot of talent to be able to defend a title time and time again.
Absolutely. And moving on down the line, the next match, I think I forgot to tell you about this one, but regardless, it's Michelle McCool versus Summer Rae. I don't remember who runs Summer Rae. I think it may be Shad. Possibly. I don't remember off the top of my head, and I do apologize. But I know McCool is ran by Jay, if it's still the same. I don't know if that's a secret or not. But regardless, I think Jay's running Lay Cool with Paul Heyman. And then, of course, Summer Rae, the Fandango is in her little banner here. So that's what I'm going to assume.
Wait a minute. You said Jay?
Yeah.
That's one.
That's one. We have one, ladies and gentlemen. But to me, Dustin, I look at this match. I think it's going to be kind of a throwaway for both our peers. I think they have more a bigger fish to fry down the card. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Plus, they're women wrestlers. Come on, who cares about the women's division? Oh, wait.
Your age is showing. Dustin.
I'm just joking, of course. No, in all seriousness, I agree with that. I actually did really like Jay's writing with Michelle McCool. I don't know much if it is Shad's writing with I just drew a blank on the name.
Summer Rae.
Thank you. Yes. I'm not very familiar with the writing there, but again, I think that it kind of boils down to me, if Jay focuses on the character, I love the interaction with Heyman. I love the swarmy, excuse the language, but stuck-up, female dog, if you will, character of Michelle McCool. So if it isn't a throwaway match, I'll give it to Jay. If it is a throwaway match, which unfortunately it probably will be, I'd have to go the other way because, again, as you and I both know, when Jay gets his back against the wall, he's going to focus on what's obviously the most important, which is not this kind of match.
Completely agree with you. So I'm going to vote or predict. I'm going to predict Jay in this one, Michelle McCool. I just don't know what he can give with the amount of matches that he may or may not have. So we'll move to the next match, which actually I'm really looking forward to. I'm a big fan of all three. It's the EWE Divas Championship. Of course, I got into the whole Divas Championship with Sid Vicious in EWE, so I know these characters a little more than I would because of that. But it's between Mickie James versus Abby Addiction versus Holly Winder, and you've got three very good handlers here. You've got three very good characters, and a lot of different things to play on in this one.
Absolutely agree with you as well. And I have to say, what's interesting about this match is that you have arguably the strongest character for Shad and Mickie James. You have what many would call Mike's best character outside of White Tiger, and you have what many call Jay's best character outside of Johnny and the Chaos siblings, Christy and Johnny.
Yeah.
So you have three very prominent writers, three strong writers. Although I would believe Shad is probably the weakest of the three, he by no means has the weakest character in this match. Because, in my opinion, Mickie James is Shad in EWE. You know what I mean? It's his bread and butter. So it's a very interesting dynamic. And I would have to say here, the prediction is it's very tough, but I do know that Mike has always had a special place for Holly. And this is a toss-up for me.
Yeah, it's not as easy as you would think. Yeah, it's really not.
No. I have a lot of respect for all three of these characters, and Jay's Abby work is incredible as well. I think that, Wait. Jay is in this match.
Yeah, wait. There we go. You got the other one.
Two. So we got two. I'm going to have to say I'm going to take the dark horse in this one, and you might think I'm crazy, but I'm going to take the dark horse. I'm going to go with Mickie James. Mickie James has shown a lot of improvement. Obviously, we've talked about Shad's work with her before. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, including the other two people in the match.
Yeah, I don't give Shad a lot of credit a lot of the time. I do think it was very impressive the way he gave me, I don't want to say a run for my money. I think other people would say that, but when he faced me for the Divas Championship as Sid Vicious, and I was pretty untouchable with Sid. I'll toot my own horn there in the Divas division, but Shad, he gave me a tough go-around, and, he really, really wants it. That's the thing. When he's in a match like this, he wants to prove he belongs. He wants Mickie James to have that title. I don't know off the top of my head if she has finally captured that title in the time that we've been away. I don't think she has. I think Shad just came back as well to the EWE, so still that title keeps eluding Shad. Eventually, he's got to get it, and I think and get a good run. But I'm not going to go with him. I am going to go with Abby Addiction in this one. She's my favorite character that Jay runs. Abby's my pick in this one.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So moving on down the line, we have the Legends Battle Royal, the next match. A lot of rumors circulating around that Rick Cage may enter again this year. I'm not sure if that's true. And then a lot of people saying that Riku may return to enter this match. So, there's a lot of names being tossed around. I'm not sure, who's going to end up where. As we record this, we're about 2 hours away from first deadline. I don't think anybody's role-played for it. So I thought about writing a role-play for Derek Daniels in it, but I have my hands in a lot of other baskets and other feds. I'm a champ in one fed. I'm going for a championship in two other feds. And, I'm in a tournament right now, too. So I couldn't do it. I was going to surprise everybody and do a Derek Daniels RP. You're welcome for whoever does it now, because you may win because I didn't role play. But we'll see who joins it. But you got any wild predictions on this one?
You're welcome because I didn't role play. I think I taught you a little too well there, Johnny. Truth be told, I actually was thinking about coming back for this one as well. I had some ideas for Dutch and Jack, as a matter of fact, and I also had an idea for Dustin Jobber, but that's a different story for another time. It's sad. It really is, because unfortunately, I'm sort of in the same boat as John, except not in the E-Fed world anymore because of what I do for work and, of course, my other endeavor, which I'm going to shamelessly plug, bowlingevolved.com for all your bowling needs. Bowling show by real bowlers for real bowlers. But no, that takes up the majority of my time these days, and I was actually relaying off the air about sitting down to do some writing, and it did not. And John, I know you can relate to this, but when you have an idea in your head, but when you put it on paper, it doesn't come out the way you want it to come out. I would rather be remembered for where I was as opposed to struggling to get where I am, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So, so whoever was going to enter, including you, John, you're welcome as well, because if you did enter and I entered Dutch or Jack, obviously you'd be second. But no, as far as wild off-the-wall predictions, it's tough to say. I mean, there's a lot of great role players that could potentially show up in this match. I would love to see, there's 1,000 people even currently in the Fed that could show up. I mean, heck, I'd love to see Abs pull out, Muhammad Hassan or Mike to jump in with, even though he's still active, like White Tiger could jump into that match, there's a million different ways it can go. So, no real prediction. I'll say this. Dr. Quackerton Jr. May make an appearance and win the Battle Royal.
You should definitely post a RP for him. Definitely. Because if nobody role plays in the next 2 hours, it's going to be 1 versus 1 anyway. So it's going to be 1 RP each. So I don't think anybody's going to post 2 for it. So you still got a chance, I think.
I will make a promise. If no one posts before the first deadline, I will do a Dr. Quackerton role play, and I guarantee it'll be a 3,000-word role play with only 1 word being spoken or not spoken.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but who cares? Who cares? Post it anyway.
He should be a Hall of Famer. DQJ HOF 2015.
Well, after we break down the card, the Hall of Fame was announced for this year, so we can go through that after this.
Wonderful. So Dr. Quackerton made it in. That's fantastic.
So
I'm done on this show. If he is not in the Hall of Fame.
So after the Legends Battle Royal, it's the EWE Television Championship Scramble match. It's between Layla Rogue, Kayla Phoenix, Sasha Banks, and Sunshine. So Sunshine Fugate, I guess, as Dustin would say. I'm not sure who runs Layla. Yeah, I'm not sure who runs Layla. I know Rogue, you're familiar with her. She's been in EWE before. Sasha Banks may be a Shad run. I'm not sure. That's the current television champion right now who will be defending here in the Scramble match. And then Kayla Phoenix, I believe, belongs to Scar.
Okay. Interesting. Well, it's funny because, again, I can't say I'm super familiar with all these characters. Outside of one, which is Rogue, I was very impressed with her, and I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. I do apologize. But I do remember she was very cute. For some reason, I remember that. Go figure.
Of course. Of course you remember that.
Yeah, for some reason, the guy who once dated an exotic dancer, never mind. You know what? I'm not going to get into that. But, which, Anna, if you're listening, hey, darling, how you doing? But anyway, who still is a fan, coincidentally. I know that sounds funny, John, and Jay, if you are listening to the show, which I know you are, she still asked me about the Fed, and she actually still jumped on and asked me to send her role plays from time to time. I found that very interesting. So, a legitimate fan of the Fed. Who would have thunk it? But yeah,
wait, you're actually right. She is pretty cute.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so,
I'm just looking at. She posted some pictures on EWE. Her name is Fee, I guess. P-H-I, Fee?
Yes.
Or Phi?
Phi? I don't know. Something like that. But, yeah, no, I do remember speaking to her. She was very nice. I was very impressed with her writing, actually. she really took me by surprise because the character, when I first saw her, I remember this was going back, 2011, I want to say, somewhere in there?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, she kind of took me, because a lot of times when you see the characters like what she was portraying, they're usually kind of one-shotters or a lot of fluff, not a lot of stuff, so to speak. But she really had a total package without having the familiarity with the Fed, which really impressed me. She's a strong rider, and, for the sake of argument, I'm going to take her. Why not? She had the goods then. If she shows up, she'll have the goods now.
I agree with you. I think the only one that can give her a run, that would care enough to give her a run, is Scar with Kayla Phoenix. So, obviously, because she's a good rider. So, I'm taking good riders in a scramble match like this where there's a lot of role plays to read. Usually the most unique role play will stand out. It may not be the best one, but the one who catches the attention tends to win the matches and things like this. So, I'm going to go with Rogue as well. I think she'll take this one.
Of course, if we're basing it on handler cuteness, it's going to be a toss-up between Scar and Rogue. So,
Yo, Rogue, if you got Snapchat, I'm on there at JNorth0. You can hit me up. It's JNorth0.
Oh my God, John, aren't you engaged?
We don't have to talk about that right now.
I'll have you know that I am basically single right now, which I don't really know where I was going with that. In fact, that actually scares me to say that because, never mind, forget. Moving on, John, what's next on the card?
Moving on down the card, it's a mother-daughter tag team match. We have Stealth Elf and Christy Jensen against Missouri Payne and Android 18. So I guess Christy Jensen was outed as Stealth Elf's mother, I guess, in the storyline with JC. He's very creative, to put it lightly. So,
wait a minute. Hold on for a second. Christy Jensen, she can't possibly be that old, can she?
I'm not asking any questions here. I'm not asking also how she gave birth to an elf.
The green midget, I can understand that, but because I know it's not right to base a character age off of a pick base, although I do tend to think that you need to at least be somewhat in the ballpark. If you're using a character that's 25 years old, you're probably not going to use Vince McMahon today as a pick. Well, you might. I don't know, but I guess so. I guess I'm just a little perplexed on that one. But sure, okay. I need to brush up on the storyline a little further, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't, just because I looked at the match and I knew who I was going to predict, which is obviously Missouri Payne and Android 18. So I don't know if Mike is still pretending to be Android 18 or if there's actually a Jen. I'm not going to go into that at all. So I'm just going to go into Missouri is my favorite Mike character. I think he writes for the best, and Android 18 is Android 18. So.
Well, Jen and Mike are both cute, so I mean, no, never mind. I agree wholeheartedly. Give it to Mike and Jen, Mike and Mike, Jen and Jen, Jamaica, whatever you want.
Whatever it is.
Next match.
Next match, moving down the card, it is Josie Wells versus Grace Moretti. So Scar versus Scar match here.
Interesting.
So I'm sure there's a whole storyline to play into this that I haven't done a lot of homework on, but interesting to say the least.
I was always a fan of the Josie Wells character. If she's legitimately RPing against each other, well, see, this goes back to a discussion we had many, many shows ago, which is how good can you really RP against yourself? One of the biggest problems with doing that is that obviously you know what the other person's going to say. So I know you and I have both been in this situation on a couple of occasions, and usually you tend to role play better with one character than another, but it's never a desirable situation in my opinion. However, out of the two characters, I feel Josie was always my favorite for Scar, and I'll go with Josie in this one.
Yeah, I'll go with you on that one. And I think, I think it's fine to have matches like these if you want to your characters to kind of wrap things up or blow off a feud. But, you don't have to go all out. I look for, Scar, maybe it's a 1 RP limit in this match, so, just do 1 for each, about 500 words, and I think you can, kind of have a nice little wrap-up for your characters at WrestleMania.
Sure. And, again, I totally understand storyline, and I totally understand if it happens in gimmick matches. Or I was thinking back, actually, to remember the tag gauntlet where Jay and I went with the Jobbers? I'm sure you remember that going back. But, I role-played as Dutch Clark in that as well, and I actually did a full 3,000-word RP with Dutch, and I ended up doing a pretty strong Dustin. Obviously, we did a really strong Jobber squad role-play. We won somehow. But go figure. But I don't know. I've never been a big fan of the situation. Even in storyline, it's kind of hard to, in my opinion, I've never really enjoyed role-playing against myself. If you ever notice, and John, I think you've kind of done the same thing. I've always tried to kind of steer my characters I was handling, if I was handling multiples, away from each other, or if they interacted, it was not interacting against each other. They were interacting together.
Mm. Yeah, I agree, and like I said, I wish I could kind of touch more on it and talk about it a little more, but, I just didn't have the time to do. I did some homework, as I guess you can tell, but I just haven't been able to really sit down and read everything. So I've just kind of been skimming the results to keep up. So moving along down the table here, it's Midnight Annie Fugate, or how did you used to say it?
I always said Fugate. It's Fugate.
Yeah, it's Fugate. It's Fugate. I know that, but I always want to say it how you do. But anyway, it is Midnight Annie Fugate versus Trish Stratus. Trish has been on the commentary table for EWE.
Is this a J character?
Yes, it is.
Number 3.
We're up to 3, and I think we're about halfway through the card now. So
could
be trouble. It could be trouble for Jay. Trish Stratus, she's been at the commentary table for EWE. I know. I think Jonathan Steele had a long hiatus for EWE. I think he's back now. I think Jay showed me that, but everything's running together on me. But regardless, Trish Stratus has been at the table. She's taking on Fugate in this one. What do you got?
Fugate.
I'm gonna take. I think Jay is really good with Trish. But, I don't know how it's going to work out for him with a bunch of these RPs to do or whatever. I don't even know what kind of limit there is on this one. I could probably look it up real fast. But regardless, who do you got in this one? Or you already told me Fugate, right? I'm going to say Trish.
Well, yeah.
It is a 1 RP limit.
Okay, I'm going to go with Miss Fugate, but the reason I'm going to say that is, well, it looks like Mike's got his hands full, too, so, maybe we should be doing the Mike counter also, but that's not as much fun. We have more fun taking fun of Jay. But, love you, Jay, I really do. But, no, I mean, Trish has always been the character. When Jay focuses on Trish, she's extremely strong. When Jay is secondary with Trish, she's extremely weak. There's no in between.
Yeah.
So, and Annie has always been, even though he's done some stuff where he's really focused on her, she's always kind of been middle of the road for me. But it didn't matter if she was first or secondary. It's always been kind of the same steady line. So, yeah, I'll go with Annie, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Well, I will go with Trish. And we'll call it like that. So we'll split on that. Next up is the Frost Elves, who are the Divas. This is for the Divas Tag Team Championship. It's the Frost Elves, which is Stealth Elf and Missouri, against the Diva Task Force, which is, let's see here, Fortin and Abby Addiction, I do believe.
It's not going to get old, is it?
No, I don't think so. You still got a couple more coming up, too.
Wonderful. Interesting match. Again, this really boils down to what we talked about before, who was going to want it more. I was always impressed with the Frost Elves. I was always sort of there's certain characters that for some reason when you pair them up, they work even better. I know there's certain times, like, for example, you could take two legitimate great characters. Like, let's say, for the sake of argument, you take Dutch Clark and at the time it was Alpha Male. Remember that when we had that tag team?
Yeah.
Okay. Both of us individually were very strong role players, but when we went together, the characters did not work. You had two very different personalities that didn't really mesh well. But then you take a character like Derek Daniels and Dutch Clark, where basically the entirety of our RPs was basically us making gay jokes about each other and trying to one-up each other. And all of a sudden you had comic gold. Another situation was Christy and Dutch as well. It's just certain things worked out in that way. And the Frost Elves, to me, really have that. They have a dynamic that I think has actually made both characters stronger. With that being said, don't get me wrong, Scar and Jay are absolutely incredible with who they are. But at the end of the day, I'm going to look at who is going to want this match a little more. And for me, I think it's going to be the Frost Elves.
I think the Frost Elves, and you hit the nail on the head, so I'm not going to go into that any further. I think that Missouri and obviously JC and Mike, who are the handlers of the Frost Elves, I think they really do play off each other well. I think it's made JC a better role player, and that's where we've seen the improvement from. His style mimics Mike's a lot. That being said, I got to go with the favorites here and the Diva Task Force because I just think, despite how big of a challenge this is for the Frost Elves, I don't think they'll be able to overcome it because, Addiction is obviously Jay's best character in my opinion, and Fortin is Scar's best character. So I'm going to go with the Diva Task Force on this one.
I'm having fun kind of playing the undercard role or the underdog role right now, so I'm sure Jay and Mike are probably gritting, or not Mike, I'm sure, Mike, I picked against him on a few occasions, so I'm sure Jay's gritting his teeth at me, waiting for me to pick him in a match, but I will, Jay, I promise. I have one match in mind that I am going to be picking you with. So, but moving on.
Oh, man. So next on the docket, it's going to be another match that I've kind of circled. I went through and looked over some things. This is another match I've circled that I think is going to be really, really good. It's the EWE All-American Championship between Cliff Morgan and Kelsey Parr. I think this has potential to, I don't want to say maybe steal the show, but I think it's going to be really, really, really close.
Here are two handlers, Mike and Scar, that I am very close to, both as a writer and offline as well, OOC. I've had a chance to role-play with Mike quite a bit, and I had a chance to work with Scar, you and I both, and kind of took her under my wing and, watched her mature as a writer. And these are two characters that I am very happy to read whenever they do work. Personally, I think that Scar as Cliff Morgan is probably her best work, arguably, although I do kind of miss Rorschach on occasion, but that's neither here nor there. But I think Cliff is arguably her best work. It's most definitely her most decorated character. And I think at the end of the day, Mike is going to have a lot on his plate. I mean, Scar's got a lot on her plate too. However, the focus of her attention is probably going to be on this match. And, it boils down to this. Mike is on the upper card past this match as well. And Scar, I don't believe is. Is Scar involved in the main event?
Hold on just a sec. No.
I don't believe so, but Mike is.
Yes, Mike is.
Yes. So, for me, it boils down to this. If I'm on a card where I'm fighting for both the mid-card title and the main title, of course I'm going to do my best to win both. However, you always have your focus on what's going to be number one. And to me, White Tiger winning the Undisputed Championship for, the 8th time or 20th time or 159th time has to be more prestigious than a mid-card title. So with that being said, I think you get the best out of Scar and arguably her top match against Mike, who is going to put a lot into it, but it's going to be awful hard to beat someone with 100% focus on winning that belt. Cliff Morgan wins the match and arguably comes away with probably some of the strongest role plays on this card.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it perfectly. I'm going to go it's a toss-up. I'm going to go with Kelsey Parr, though. I think Mike is going to just edge Scar in this one.
Sure. Have we chosen the same character on any match so far?
I don't think so. I don't think we have, which I like, though. It's okay.
Okay.
So we picked, all right, Kelsey Parr and Cliff Morgan. So moving on from that one, it's the Money in the Bank. It's an Elevation X match, which I assume the X is above the ring, and then the briefcase is hanging from the middle, and you have to climb up the side and crawl over and unhook the briefcase or whatever.
Back in my day, we had black tights and black boots, and we wrestled for 60 minutes, and the only gimmick we had was an Iron Man match. We didn't have these stinking Ultimate matches with your top rope moves and your flashy pyro.
Oh my goodness.
We role played without pictures, with no HTML. We had typewriters that we would mail. You heard me, mail to the failure.
Oh goodness. Regardless, it is going to be Joker Eli versus James Ceno versus The Clown versus John Steele versus Rollerball versus Blitz. A lot of talent in this match. I think, obviously, if you just glance through, I think James Ceno, he's been in EWE before. He was a big-time player before. The Clown is obviously ran by Luke, so you can never count him out. And then John Steele, obviously ran by John, is a very good role player as well. I think on the outside looking in, you have Rollerball and Blitz, and then I think Eli is right there floating in the middle if you don't know what he's going to do. So JC with two handlers in this one, Rollerball and Blitz, and then you have Eli, and then you have three, Hall of Fame handlers that are really good.
Do you think sending Fed stuff to the mail meant results were on time? No. We were lucky to get a show. Sorry. Anyway, where was I? Yes, no, I agree with you. I think this is a lot of talent in this match. I think there's a lot of personal, how do I put this, a lot of personal pride on the line, too. Again, I agree, Luke is by far, I think, the most quote-unquote talented and decorated writer. I have always been a big fan of Luke's work, and, he is my English boyfriend. Oh, did I say that out loud? But, no, so I have a lot of respect for Luke. Eli was one that, again, we kind of took under our wing. He has never ceased to amaze me, just the improvement from when I first saw his writing back in 2010 to what I see today. It's like looking at two totally different people. So, and a lot of that has come with maturity as well. And, of course, if you get your butt kicked enough times, and that's not an insult at all, but, as you take the feats, you start to understand why you lost. And I think he really started to pick up on what made talented and respectable role plays. Ceno, I know of his work. I am not really particularly in a great field of knowledge, but his accomplishments have spoken for themselves in the past. John Steele, we've already talked about, of course. So, and Blitz, you said, was in this match as well?
Yeah, Blitz in the match as well.
Okay. So, again, there is a lot of talent, but at the end of the day, I'm going to have to go with the one guy who has time and time again shown me role plays that have literally boggled my mind where he came up with some of this stuff, which is the one and only Luke. He's a tremendous writer, and I think that he goes above and beyond and takes this match in the end.
Yeah, in a match like this, I talked about it earlier, and I forgot to mention also, and I think everybody in the Fed knows, but it was originally Starhawk who was in this match, who was revealed as Christy Chaos. Chaos was the Money in the Bank holder from the previous year, so obviously she couldn't cash in and be in the Money in the Bank as well. So there was a segment on the Gen RP board where the Clown got the spot. Regardless, it's either going to be Ceno or the Clown in this one. Two really good handlers, two old school handlers. But I got to go with the best rider, and that's Luke. You're right. I mean, he's one of the best. He's a guy I don't think I've ever even faced and would be scared to face today if I had to. So. I'm going to go with the best rider in this one, and I think it's the Clown, which is Luke.
Scared? Really? Is that some humbleness, some Some legitimacy from John North? My God.
Just slightly. Just a little.
Yeah.
I'll give Luke credit. I think Luke, I'm not gonna call him out, but I think Luke tried to chase me to another Fed. I don't know if he worked out there or not. I don't know if he's still around or not, but he can bring it on anytime he wants it in another Fed. I'll throw the gauntlet out to him. I won't give him any free pub, but he can come on anytime he wants it.
Luke is a tremendous asset to any Fed, whether it's as a handler or as an owner. He's actually done work for me, as a matter of fact, with Thornhill Graphics. I don't know if you have, again, throwing it over to my bowling show, but he actually did all the graphic work on our banners, which I thought was just tremendous what he was able to do. So, no, I totally agree. I mean, going off topic for just a second here, but I want to say there is a certain dynamic, if you will, to certain handlers that are able to kind of go beyond just the written word. If you look at your truly great role players, and I'll take guys like, let's say, Jay, yourself, myself, Luke, they've actually been able not only to run characters, but they've been able to develop storylines. They've been able to jump into the graphic trade. They've been able to go into other multimedia, be it podcasting, be it mentoring, excuse me, teaching, anything like that. And I think that's one skill to this day that is kind of lost on a lot of younger writers, that they think that, well, if I can just write, that's going to get me to the top. But I think you really have to engulf yourself in the whole EFED scheme. Doesn't mean you have to necessarily be as good of a graphic designer or a storyline maker as you are a writer, but I think it all kind of plays into each other, just how much you can really immerse yourself into the situation.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, you're really coming into form here, by the way, on all these, on talking about these matches. The later in the card we get, I like it. The less talking I have to do.
I'm sorry. It's been a while.
No, you're good. You're good, man. You're good. That's what the color commentator does. That's what he does. He makes the play-by-play guy look good, and that's what you're doing.
Well, you are a sexy beast, John. I mean, Luke might be my English boyfriend, but you're my Kentucky boyfriend.
Thank you very much. So moving on, it'll be the Divas Championship Unification match. It'll be between the Shining Star Championship and the Divas Championship match. I forgot, who did you say was going to win the Shining Star? I think you said Leon, I said Stealth Elf.
Yes.
Correct? And in the Divas match, I said Abby, you said Mickey.
Yes.
So we already talked about all these.
Yeah, it's just a grab bag of our two winners. And at the end of the day, even though I did pick John in the other match, I still believe that Mickey is the strongest character Shad has, and I think Mickey walks away with the unified title.
And I think that Abby Addiction walks away with the unified title.
Well, I think that you're a moron. I'm just
All right, going on down the card next. I hope you got. Well, I think regardless, it could be another ding for Jay in that Divas Championship unification. We just don't know yet.
Yeah. Ding.
So it's half a ding for that one. Ding, yeah, question mark. But we can ding for this next match because it's a no-hold-barred 6-man elimination match. It's going to be the Shield versus the Wyatt family.
Ding, ding, ding.
So, of course, Jay runs the Shield and Scar runs the Wyatt family. I don't know how much you've got to read of each. They're fairly new. I know the Shield was around when Dutch was around. I think Scar took over the Wyatts after you had left. I've read her work just because I'm a Bray Wyatt mark. What do you think about this one?
I actually have read the Bray Wyatt stuff, and I was relatively impressed. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the character, I thought it was written very well. The Shield, of course, I am definitely familiar with from the past. So just off topic for a second, do we give Jay 3 dings, or we give him 1 ding since it's all one match?
I will just give him 1 ding.
Okay, so he's at 5.5. We've hit the over!
But the RP limit is 3 in this one. But I still think we're going to give him 1 for it.
Okay. Well, that means you can cash in your tickets at the sports book after you're done with the show tonight. This is an interesting challenge. I know how much Scar loves the Bray character, but I also know how much Jay loves the Shield. So in this one, I am actually going to go with the Shield. I think Jay brings it hard with all three characters, and I think that he's just going to be more than enough to, more. I mean, the guy is great. I mean, Jay, I'm not saying that Scar's not a great writer, but Jay is tremendous, and I think that this will be a match he will focus on because of the love he has for the Shield.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to actually agree with you. I'm going to go with the Shield, too. I think it's tough. I think you talked about it earlier with yourself and having ideas on paper and then them, coming to life on the, Word document isn't what you saw. I think writing with Bray and the Wyatt family is very tough because I think you're stuck in this creative box with him. And I think it's the same problem that WWE is having currently with Bray Wyatt in real life. It's so tough to try to reimagine and try to think outside the box with a character like that. So I think eventually Scar, as good as she is with Bray, is going to eventually write herself into this box where, she's going to be nothing but maybe a mid-carder or something like that with the Wyatt family because I just don't know how much you can do writing-wise with that character. You know what I mean?
Completely agree. I think back to, for those of you who are familiar with some of my older work, Will Westbrook. When Will Westbrook was the kind of, and as you remember, now you knew him back in the WFS days, which he was kind of the high-flyer, cocky kid that fell into drugs and everything else. But the problem is that once you pick a very gimmicky road, which obviously Bray Wyatt is a pure gimmick, it's very hard to diversify yourself. That's why I always said the best characters are the ones that are kind of extensions of yourself. And I think you hit it right on the head. You write yourself into a corner trying to think of what's going to be the next shock factor. I know with Will, I did one or two role plays that by far were probably some of the best writing I ever did. They were heart-wrenching. They were just mind-blowing thinking about this ex-drug addict, guy that's binging out trying to make a career, but then where do you go from there? How do you write a drug-addicted wrestler for, 3 years? You don't. So it's tough. And, I think with that being said, John, you're perfectly on the nose with this one. It's just there's only so much you can do. And I think the Shield, for whatever reason, the Shield has a lot more depth, which is funny because character-wise, they're actually very one-dimensional, but because you can explore the backstories of the individuals a little more and kind of open it up into your own way of writing, I think that gives Jay a huge advantage here.
Yeah, I'm going to, first, I think one of the few ones we've agreed on, but, I think Jay takes this one. So we now move to our main event of the evening. It's the EWE Undisputed Championship match. It's Christy Chaos, Christy Chaos, the new champion in this one after cashing in her Money in the Bank on the other opponent in this match, CM Punk.
Ding.
You get another ding. There you go. It's Jay again.
I am familiar with that storyline. I am very familiar with how this all broke down, and so I actually have quite a bit I want to say about this one.
Then you have Alessandro Quagliatore and White Tiger. So 3 of maybe the cornerstone handlers, if you're doing a Mount Rushmore of the EWE. There's an argument for every one of these handlers to be on that Mount Rushmore. And I think this is a very good and fitting main event for the evening. The only nitpick I have and I don't like is that Jay has 2 wrestlers in it, but with the storyline, it kind of had to be this way. It had to be Christy Chaos and CM Punk. I would like to have maybe him lay off with Punk and maybe bring him back on the next show or the next show down the line when it's one-on-one. But, I just think a 4-way is, it's a little bit of a cluster, but you have 3 great handlers, so you can't complain too much.
I agree to some extent. Again, storyline, and we talked about earlier, WrestleMania is the premier end-all, be-all of the storylines for the year, so to speak. So I can understand where it was. But, no, I think this WrestleMania main event is really spectacular. on the one hand, you have Jack Michaels, the patriarch of the MMSW. On the other hand, you have his student, his Padawan, if you were.
No. No.
Oh my God. You know people are going to hate us after they listen to this. You realize that, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's okay. No, I think you have a very WrestleMania-worthy main event, and this is a match that, again, here's a match where I have a great deal of respect for everyone involved in it. From the aspect that Jay's got two characters, who does he let up on, or does he let up at all? I think that's the wrong question to ask. The better question to ask is, what's he going to have the most motivation to do? For some reason, he's always had a chip on his shoulder with the Christie character. You know, we've talked about this on numerous occasions, and I think that motivating factor gives that an edge. So between CM Punk and the Christie, I'm going to focus my quote-unquote pick, be it that he's handling Christie in this match versus Abdul and Mike. Alessandro, obviously, is one of those characters that you never quite know what to expect. He can go funny. He can go off the wall. He can go like he's been on a whiskey drinking binge for 4 months. You know, he has some weird stuff. And the thing is, Abs always has a way of making it work. I don't know how he does it, but it's kind of like, John, with you and Leon, being able to kind of figure out a way to monologue and internally visualize an opponent. With Leon Kashmir, he's able to do that with an external kind of monologue most of the time.
Yeah.
With the Alessandro character. And, of course, rounding out the equation, you have the one and only White Tiger. I mean, when you look at the definition of who represents EWE that's not a direct owner or founder of the Fed, White Tiger is a man, and Mike has always been solid with him. I've had some incredible battles with him, as have you. And he's one of my favorite opponents to go against, and one of the few guys that have beat me in main event competition. So it is as has Abdul and Jay in the past. So it's really a toss up for me. But at the end of the day, I have to ask myself one question: where is the motivation? What are you trying to accomplish? Obviously, the whole issue with Christie Chaos, with them unmasking and everything, this kind of, I don't know if I'd call it a. I kind of want to call it for those of you who remember the old ECW, like the Rick Rude reveal. Remember that?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. You're kind of getting this, okay, here's an established character with a chip on her shoulder that's now back in the top. Yes, she's defending the title. Yes, she probably doesn't have everything in the world going for her, other than the fact that Jay has a desire to watch her win. And the fact of the matter is, when you have a writer with the talent that Jay has, with a desire to want to push forward, and with enough motivation to take out whoever steps in his path, including his own character, it's very hard to vote against him. I think Alessandro is going to have some amazing RPs. I think White Tiger is going to have some amazing RPs. What hurts Mike in this match, he's got a lot of other things on his plate. Abs, obviously, I think this is his only match. But with that being said, Jay's focus, and he's done it time and time again, is going to be on the character he feels is the least appreciated. And in this case, it's Christie Chaos. Christie Chaos wins and retains the Undisputed Championship.
You know, I think really good points all around. I think that also what edges Jay is because he's been running the storyline for so long that Starhawk was Christie Chaos. Only like 2 people figured it out, and of course Mike was one of them. But regardless, you know, he's got this edge as a heel now, and I think Jay plays heel characters very well. You know, his Punk, I was going to mention this is when I was thinking about some of the stuff we were going to talk about earlier. I really like his Punk RPs. You can hear Punk's voice in his writing, which is very important if you're going to play a character that is already a character and not a made-up character. So I think Jay does a really good job with that. That being said, you got White Tiger. Mike is what he is. He's one of the best in the EWE. When he brings it, he's right there with anybody else. We've seen that time and time again. But Alessandro, you know, I've been far and wide now in the e-fetting spectrum, and he is just so unorthodox but so good. And he takes ideas like, I'm pretty sure like one of his role plays was talking to like a cow in a field once or something, and he somehow related that back to the role play. And that's just so tough to do. It's something that you think of and you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's too lame. Abs can take that and make it a good role play, which I think is special that he can do that. He always brings out the best in me, along with you. Him and you both always brought out the best in me. So I'm going to say, this is the only match he has to focus on. I'm going to go with Abs in this one.
Well, it should be good. I'm looking forward to it. I think that at the end of the night, you're going to have just one heck of a main event. And I think anyone that is reading and looking forward to seeing it is not going to be disappointed in the least bit.
Absolutely. I agree with you, and I think it's going to be a pretty good show all around. I'll definitely tune in to read it. It'll be very, very, very fun. And, with that being said, I kind of wish I was a part of it, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It's going to be a good show. I'm happy to step down and watch everyone else do the job, I guess you could say.
I agree. It's very rewarding to know that you've been able to kind of pave your own path in the past, and there is a piece of me, and John, I'm sure you understand this feeling, that knows if you come back, you don't want to not be number one. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. You are always somewhat driven to be at the top, and sometimes it's not as much fun as it could be. If you're in the right fuse, you're in the right way of doing things, it is. But that's kind of something that I really don't miss right now. I don't miss that burnout. And, Lord knows I've hit it more times than I care to admit. But, that's one thing that's always amazed me about Jay and Mike and everyone else, Star, is that they don't seem to hit that burnout. They just keep pushing forward. Now, maybe it's because, I've been doing this since 1997 off and on, so, back when dial-up internet at 56K was the best thing going. But, it's really interesting. And I don't know, John, I feel very proud to say that I've been a part of the history of EWE, and I'm with you. I wish I was part of this pay-per-view, and I guess in the back of my mind, I still think that Dutch Clark is number one, and I still think that he could be the undisputed champion. But at the same time, I don't need that anymore, and I don't want that anymore. I want to see what other people can do, and I guess that's what makes me a fan, and I thank Jay every day that he's been able to keep the Fed going, because without him, none of this would be possible.
Yeah, and it's back right now. I mean, EW running pretty strong, pretty big, really big roster. I mean, not really big roster, but a really big card this year. So always good to see. It's always kind of sad when EW goes to the wayside. But that being said, also, I guess we can announce the 2015 class. It's unofficial. It hasn't been in results or anything, but it had to be posted for the Legends Battle Royal just in case. The inductees going in first, you're going back into the Hall of Fame. I don't know if you knew this or not, but you and Christy Chaos going in as a tag team.
Oh, well, I'd like to thank all the little people that got me here, all the teams that we crushed. And
hey, wait! Don't blow it all yet, because you're going in a second time in this class.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll save my gloating for after you make all the announcements.
It'll be going into the Hall of Fame as a faction will be Dustin Jobber, Jay Jobber, John Jobber, and Mike Jobber. The Jobbers are officially Hall of Famers.
Wow. Man, whoever would have thought we'd see that day. I have a few things I will say. Who else is going in the Hall of Fame this year?
Also going in to the Hall of Fame will be Amelia the Phoenix Peterson, a Diva inductee.
Excellent.
Of course, that one was ran by Luke, I do believe.
Yep.
And then the headliner of the 2015 class is none other than yours truly, Leon Cashmere.
Who?
You prick.
Leon Cashmere, arguably your best character outside of Derek Daniels, in my opinion. Had some amazing battles, including what I consider one of our what I consider the best match we ever had in, well, gosh, that's a tough. I can't say that. I can't say that either. Very close to being the best match we ever had, and I would say the only match where I felt like at my absolute 100% best, I could not beat you, and that's, I to this day, I still can go back and read that match and just feel the pride of seeing how that thing ended up. And so, congratulations, Johnny. That's a great feat.
No problem. I appreciate it. I love that match. It is awesome to read. I was going back just a couple weeks ago, I think, and I was going through and reading. I actually had another Iron Man match in another Fed, and I was going back and reading that one just to see if I can get any motivation to role play for that match. And I was like, man, this is such a good match to RP4 and to Rod, because we double teamed that match, right?
Yes, we did.
That's what I thought. So yeah, yes, but that concludes our talk here. I guess I'll kick it back over to you, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate on the Hall of Fame. Well, first and foremost, I'll say next year's Hall of Fame should be interesting because I think there's a few characters that we have that. Well, actually, let me first say this. I am very honored to be going in for a second time with Dutch. I have to say that. Obviously, Charismatic Fury, even though the tag division, people will argue, was not that great, every challenge that was laid in front of us up until the very end, we won. And Jay, it's a tremendous partner. We had a great time. I have a hard time differentiating who was my, the stronger tag team, Style and Pride or Charismatic Fury. But statistically, Charismatic Fury has to take the cake. Style and Pride, is another great tag team in my opinion. But it's great to be going in with Jay. Again, I want to thank everyone that had, it might just be Jay in this case, but thank you for putting our own tag team in, Jay. That makes me feel so good. But no. I mean, obviously there is feedback, and there always was great feedback on all of our matches. I even remember the match we won the tag titles on, which was the triple cage match. And it's just, we always were able to feed off each other. If one of us had a weak RP, the other was able to pick it up. It was a lot of fun. I always remember naked yoga with Dutch for some reason. The stuff with it's all, it was all amazing. It was a lot of fun. The Jobber Squad, John, you and I were there. I mean, obviously I was part of the original Jobber Squad going back in the 90s, but you and I reinvented the Jobber Squad in the early 2000s, and as crazy as this sounds, I always kind of envisioned at some point Dustin Jobber going in the Hall of Fame, and I didn't know what my reaction would be because he was such a joke character, but he's been so successful. And John Jobber has been successful too, which is hard to think. And of course Jay and Mike, obviously, they did some great stuff too. I mean, how do you feel, John? I mean, knowing that you're part of the Jobber Squad, this fat, sugar dancing, pours her sugar on me, strip tease, whatever you want to call it, has been put into the Hall of Fame.
Well, I think it's the case of, people want to say, Jay is running out of people to put in. That's true, but I think regardless that the Jobbers would have went in eventually just because they were a unique character. I thought they were very fun to rock with. Obviously, they won some matches, too, in the course of EW history, so I'm pretty happy. I'm more proud, obviously, of Leon Kashmir going in because of how I wasn't in EW that long with that character, and I still kind of made the clean sweep of every title that was available in that time. So I'm pretty happy about that. I won Undisputed twice. I won the Money in the Bank. I won the King of Extreme. I won the All-American. I won the tag. So that was pretty cool to do in that short amount of time because that was a time where I thought my writing was at its best. And I still haven't been able to get back to that level since taking some time off, which hopefully I will be able to soon.
And that's fantastic. I congratulate you on that as well. And it's, it's funny to think. I mean, right now, technically, I've got 3 Hall of Fame and now one with 2 Hall of Fames, which is, I never thought that would happen. It's great to be recognized. It is. I mean, it feels great to be recognized, obviously. And, and John, I'll give you a little stroke here, and I guess I'll stroke myself a little bit too. I mean, I always kind of felt Leon picked up right where Dutch was leaving off, and it was so funny that we went head-to-head at that point where, we both were arguably at our hottest still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a very unique time because it was a slow burn. We stayed away from each other quite a bit, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was always more interested in the All-American picture, and eventually I got back in the Undisputed. We had, I believe, 3 matches, didn't we, against each other?
Yeah, the time where it really came, you're right, you actually were right about us staying away from each other. I remember we met in the Money in the Bank before you knew I was Leon, if you remember that, because I outed you as you were coming back as this mystery character, and you told me about it, and then I outed you in my role play because you told me and you didn't know I was running Leon.
Yeah, and you're still a bastard for that, for the record, but...
I learned from the best.
Yes, you did. And I told you afterward, for the record, and everyone that heard, the very first thing I told John is that I would have done the exact same thing. So, no, and that's true. Yeah, and we really didn't cross our paths too often. I know again, I was at that point, I really wasn't interested in going for the top title. I wanted to kind of see how long I could defend the All-American, and I had, some great little mini feuds there. And then, of course, my focus was on the tag titles, after we broke the record and whatnot. But it all kind of came to fruition, and all of a sudden, I went on that whole Psycho Dutch role, which I still think Dutch, the slow, which I believe won, if I'm not mistaken, I think that won Angle of the Year, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
The Dutch going insane.
Yeah.
The blow off of me basically winning the Undisputed title and saying, you guys are all stupid, which I had a lot of fun with. But, no, I mean, it was really interesting how the two characters finally kind of combined, because it was like when I started hitting back in the Undisputed scene, you were sort of in the background, and then you won the title, and then Christy was, it was just really interesting. That's all I can really say. It was really interesting, and I feel like we accomplished what we needed to accomplish, and, I really don't have much else to say about it. I mean, career well spent.
Absolutely. I mean, I thought, and another good show, my friend.
Oh, absolutely. I miss doing this, Johnny. I really do. I do miss talking to guys in EWE. I'm not on Skype ever, so I don't talk to them too often. Only the ones that are on Facebook I'll mention, or I'll talk to Mike. I play Mike in Words with Friends, which he once told me that playing me in Words with Friends, it would have been easier to face Derek, Dutch, Johnny Chaos, and Alessandro in a handicap match. He said it'd be easier to do that than beat me in Words with Friends. So if anyone wants to take that challenge,
I may be up to it. I may give you a try on that one.
Yeah, give me a shot whenever you're ready. I look forward to it. But no, it's been great. I want to thank everyone listening. Guys, we don't do this just to hear ourselves talk. I mean, John might, but but no, I mean, I love being able to give little tidbits back, and EWE has given me, and John, for you as well, has given us a lot of fun and a lot of time, and, at the end of the day, it's nice to be able to kind of reflect on all that, and, I hope that in our 2 hours of rambling that we do that, you pick up some nice little stuff, and I hope you guys can become a little bit better writers. I mean, I have always been very proud of what I've accomplished, and but even more so, I'm more proud of the ones that I've helped and seen how they've come into their own. Guys like Eli and women like Scar, and of course, my pride and joy here, Rick Cage. So. But no, and of course, John, I mean, it goes without saying, I consider you the best role player of all time, and it's great. It's really great, and I hope that everyone's still in the Fed. You guys have a great time and do what you guys do best, which is entertain everyone that reads.
Yeah, absolutely, and keep an eye peeled, because you never know when somebody may just pop in.
It's interesting, John. Before we sign off here, I was just thinking about something.
What's that?
Your pick base Chris Hero has gone quite fat. Okay, if you have seen the pictures, and I recently saw a picture of Tommy Dreamer, and Dreamer's going bald. So I started thinking that if you were to come back and I was to come back, we could just come in as fat and bald and and dominate EWE.
And just keep making fun of each other's fatness and baldness the entire duration of our role play.
Wait, this would be our team name. Ready? Fat, bald, and drunk.
EWE, you're officially on notice.
On notice. FBD is on its way.
We're coming.
Our theme song coming in is Margaritaville.
Oh, man.
And we don't even walk to the ring. We're so lazy. We have a golf cart. we have the 2 seats on the back. If someone drives, no. We got it. So we talked about Dutch having so much money. He actually bought the portable rings from WrestleMania 3 and WrestleMania 6. So they sit in the ring.
Oh, man.
And they're wheeled the ringside. And in their contract, 4 minutes into every match, there's a 45-second break so they can go outside the ring and have a drink and a smoke before going back.
Oh, man.
Not sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza.
That's great. I think that's a good one to wrap up on.
I think so, too. Well, FBD is on its way, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in. We've had a great time, another great show. Hopefully it doesn't take us another year, but knowing my schedule and John's schedule, you'll be lucky to hear another show this decade. But with that being said, for the one and only Kentucky hot plate himself, John North, I've been the diamond in the rough, dynamic Dustin J. Markowitz, coming to you live. So good fight, good night, and we'll see you on the next show.